Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon for our informational workshop. I'm excited to introduce our speakers in just a moment, but before I do so, I would like to just go over a few housekeeping items for all of you. This is always a very hot question that we get. We will send out the PowerPoint materials after the session, so you'll either get those this afternoon or early next week. Also wanted to let you know, we do hope this will be an engaging discussion, so do welcome questions. And you have two different formats that you can ask those questions in. You can either utilize the chat if you prefer, or feel free to unmute yourselves and you can raise your hand and ask questions. So whichever method works best for you, please feel free to utilize that. And so myself and Amy will be monitoring the chat for our speakers so that we can be sure to flag for them the questions as they come through. So with that, I want to introduce today, we have YouImpact, which is one of our probation partners. We're very excited to have them today, and they'll be providing an overview of their program and playing some video as well. So very excited. But I want to introduce Trina Wasylenko, who is a program advocate, excuse me, with YouImpact. And then we also have Denise Roy, who is a program advocate with YouImpact. So very excited to have both of you with us today. And with that, I will turn it over to you to take it away.
Thank you, Rosie. We really appreciate being given an opportunity to tell you all about YouImpact. This is a great format for us because it's a very large state, so it's a great way for us to kind of get our information out. As Rosie said, my name is Denise. I've been here with YouImpact for almost a year, and I'm retired law enforcement. So I've been around the impaired driving realm for quite a while. I was in law enforcement for over 30 years. And Trina?
Thank you. I'm Trina Wasylenko, a program advocate with YouImpact. I've been an advocate here for a little more than a year and a half. I have a background. I have a degree in substance abuse counseling. I actually have lived experience with impaired driving and substance abuse, and a background in severe and persistent mental illness as well.
So I think what we'd like to start off with is show you a video about our program. Most people are familiar with what a victim impact panel is, especially in California, because they are utilized in most of the counties in California. So we'll start with that video, and then we'll kind of go into a little bit more about what YouImpact is and what we do have to offer.
And I look up and I'm briskly walking, proud, and I hear bang, like this. And over my left shoulder, that car that had been stopped at the light was heading for me. And I started sprinting as fast as I could. And I was holding on so tight to that stroller that when it ripped it from my hands, it fractured my wrist. And Grace was now by the car, and she was laying on her brother's lap. And I went to her. I ran to her. I screamed at the car. And I ran and I unbuckled her, and I picked her up like you hold a baby. And my right hand was inside of my daughter. I had just nursed her a half an hour before this. And I'm holding her, and I look down, and all I can see is her perfect face and her blue eyes looking up at me. But I knew nothing was okay. And I took her, and I ran into the street, and I was screaming to God or anybody to help me.
That was a segment of YouImpact's online Victim Impact Panel experience. Your colleagues across the country have been using YouImpact since 2011. The 11 stories included in our Victim Impact Panel are designed to help connect the offender to their accountability. YouImpact's interactive program is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in both English and Spanish. Clients can complete the program on any internet-enabled device. YouImpact has and will always remain free for indigent clients. English and Spanish-speaking YouImpact employees are available to you and your clients 24 hours a day. We're proud to share with you why your colleagues continue to put their trust in YouImpact.
Hi, my name is Anna, and welcome to the YouImpact DUI Impact Program demonstration. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and for allowing us to share the great features and inspiring content that our program provides. YouImpact is a program based on 11 real-life stories of both DUI offenders and victims whose lives have been forever changed by DUI-related events. By watching these stories and taking several tests, the offender will begin to realize that all of our choices create ripple effects. It is our hope that this program will inspire the offender to make positive changes in their lives, the lives of their loved ones, and the community at large. We have 2 types of video stories on our site, victim and offender. The first example is of a victim. Please note that we kept the video as clean as possible. We wanted the story to be the focus, nothing to distract from the impact of the story.
It's hard to bury your children. And it's harder to tell a little 10-year-old boy that his world as he knew it is no more. I would want you to know what it's like to stand in my shoes. If you think you're inconvenienced by talking to your parole officer and having to appear here and there and you're restricted and you have to do these hours of community service, hey, nothing. That's nothing compared to where I stand and where I live.
This is when it happens, that's your world is completely over, and that's somebody else's life is completely over. That's selfish. I ruined my friend's life. He didn't even experience a life. He was 17 years old when he passed away, and it's all because I made a very bad decision. It's all because I made a very immature, stupid, and selfish decision. My best advice to anyone that's watching this is be yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what to do, what not to do, and be mature. Be mature. Think about everybody else before you think about yourself. I ruined my friend's life. He didn't even experience a life. My name is Billy Negron, and I'm a convicted felon of DUI manslaughter.
YouImpact inspires change through stories. At the conclusion of the program, graduates are asked to reflect and think about the changes they need to make to positively impact themselves, their families, and their communities going forward. Graduates write themselves a letter that is physically mailed to them in 6 months.
At the conclusion of the program, the system generates a certificate of completion for the user. It contains their name, case number if given, probation officer name if provided. It will be sent via email to both the user and the probation officer, again if assigned. This certificate is meant to act as proof of program completion.
YouImpact graduates are given the ability to create their own positive ripple effect immediately at the conclusion of the program. YouImpact offers them access to the free Pay It Forward program. They can participate as many times and as often as they need. They are encouraged to share the Pay It Forward program with family, friends, and anyone in their communities.
This is a straightforward program. It's drawn and based from the experiences we've had within our communities of how DUI has affected our lives and others who we may not even know. The choices we make have impacts, and those impacts always have a ripple effect.
And what we're going to do actually now is kind of talk about our program and go through a PowerPoint just so everyone has a complete understanding. We're going to share our screen and share a PowerPoint that we have put together just to really speak about our program.
Great.
Okay. Sure. If this didn't go wrong, then it wouldn't be any fun.
Right?
Right.
This has never happened ever.
There we go.
Success. Okay, so as you all are aware, the YouImpact is an online victim impact panel for impaired driving offenses. And I know in the state of California that a lot of impaired driving offenses, people may be put on summary probation. So they're on probation of the court. But I do know that some departments have DUI, task force and departments where they may have people of subsequent who have had multiple offenses who are on probation for impaired driving offenses. As a probation chief, I know that you have officers who send people to a victim impact panel. I'm not certain, because I'm not a probation officer, what officers know about that victim impact panel that they are sending their client to. As someone who works in the victim impact panel field, I can tell you that not all victim impact panels are the same. Not all programs are as effective. They're all varying different types of victim impact panels. And we're here to talk about our purpose, which is YouImpact. We are known as a comprehensive approach to an impaired driving victim impact panel. You all met Anna in the video. She does share her story as the last story in the YouImpact program. YouImpact is a victim-founded program in purpose. The program was developed by the late Anna Redgate, who spoke at live panels for many, many years about the tragic loss of her 9-month-old daughter to a second-time impaired driver. After Anna spoke at panels for years, she was actually approached by a probation department to create a program that was consistent and effective. And that's where the idea of YouImpact was born. So what is a victim impact panel? So a victim impact panel is traditionally when someone is ordered to listen to victims speak about how an impaired driving event has forever affected their lives or the lives of their loved ones. The purpose of a victim impact panel is to emotionally influence the justice-involved individual. And a victim impact panel is not a clinical-based program. It's an emotional-based program, but it can be a very important and pivotal part of an impaired driving sentence. An effective victim impact panel will evoke a change in someone's attitudes towards their own actions, choices, and thoughts on impaired driving. Why do we need them? As I said, it can be a very important part of an impaired driving sentence. This sentencing tool could just be the one thing that makes your client have that aha moment. The goal of a victim impact panel is to save lives by reducing impaired driving recidivism. So we want to speak to someone emotionally for them to have that moment where they're like, my goodness, thank goodness something worse didn't happen. Hopefully something worse didn't happen. I never want this to happen again. I don't, want to be in the same position that I've heard these people, what have happened to their lives. So they make a different choice, and then there isn't a second offense. It's important to have a safe environment for a program for someone to listen and fully receive the message. So victim impact panels must be non-confrontational and shame-free. Someone already is feeling shamed. As you are aware, working in the justice field, that a lot of your clients are suffering from shame and guilt. So you want to have someone feel comfortable enough to fully receive the message that someone is trying to share with them.
And just as an example of that, in part of coming on as a program advocate, I wanted to, I took our program after 30 years in law enforcement. I thought nothing will bother me. But as I sat in my home, comfortable watching this program, it really shook me to the core, and it really made a difference for me, even how I perceived drinking and driving, and it wasn't mandatory for me. So before I could come out and speak about it, I also went to a live impact panel so that I could understand what the difference was between YouImpact program and a live panel. And although it wasn't mandatory, I felt shame being there. I was in a room with over 100 people, shoulder to shoulder with people I didn't know, of varied backgrounds. So maybe it's just my police background that made me uncomfortable, or I was wondering, how does the person next to me feel? Are they comfortable? There were two speakers, and although their stories are horrific, they've lost a loved one. It wasn't the right environment for me or for anybody to kind of grasp what the purpose of being there was, and that is to invoke an emotional response so that I could change behaviors or somebody could change behaviors. Not only that, but the shame of at the end you have to wait and somebody had to call my name out loud. I mean, I'm thankful I didn't go to anywhere near where I knew anyone, but they called my name out loud. I had to go stand in front of somebody as they told me that I needed to donate money to them. So the atmosphere is completely different, and that's just my experience in a live panel.
And for myself, I think it's of utmost important that an individual feels safe and comfortable to receive a message, whether that be in a clinical based setting or listening to a victim impact panel. As I had relayed, I have personal experience with impaired driving, and thus ended up going to school to be a chemical dependency counselor many years ago. Have since sat on regulatory and advisory boards to share my thoughts and life experience. And I think justice involvement can be so beneficial when done appropriately and providing a program that really helps people. So I'm happy to advocate for a program that is extremely powerful without providing, without making someone feel shamed or uncomfortable and having their defenses go up so they don't really actually absorb anything that is trying to be shared with them. So we'll speak about the program itself. As I said, YouImpact is a comprehensive approach to an impaired driving victim impact panel, and I'll speak about some of the specifics on the program. First, our program is available 24/7 because it is an online program. Our program is available in English, Spanish, and Somali. And it can be taken on any internet-enabled device, a computer, phone, tablet. Our program consists of 11 different stories. So there are 11 people, real people sharing their stories. Some of the people who share their stories in YouImpact are victims, and the other people who share their stories in YouImpact are justice involved impaired drivers. As you met Billy in our video, people who may have killed a loved one, killed a best friend, who also shared their stories of how that affected those people's families' lives and their lives as well as being the person who now has a felony on their record from killing somebody. Our program, what's unique about YouImpact is our program is never a cost for your indigent clients. We provide programs across the country, and we will always provide our program to indigent clients for no cost. We leave that up to the personal probation officer. We trust that a probation officer can determine if someone is indigent. If there is an officer who has someone that needs to attend a victim impact panel that they've deemed as indigent, they can send us an email requesting a code to our program. And that's all that we need. We will email that officer a code to share with the individual. And when the individual registers for YouImpact, they will input that code in as a coupon in our registration, our payment portion of the registration, and that will remove the cost of the program for them. Our program's purpose is to be the most effective victim impact panel available to reduce impaired driving recidivism. Our program is secure. There are multiple identity verification steps throughout the program. When someone registers for YouImpact, they are asked to set a security questions, and our system will prompt security questions just to ensure it's the correct person taking the program. At the end of our victim impact panel, after someone has listened to all the 11 stories in our program, they've taken all the tests after each of the stories, they are asked to write a letter to their future selves. And so that is part of the program before they get their certificate of completion. What we do is we take the letter that person wrote to themselves at the end of the victim impact panel, and we print the letter and mail that back to that individual 6 months later. as a reminder of how they were feeling at that moment at the end of the victim impact panel and some of the promises that they made to themselves and their loved ones and their families. There is a certificate of completion that is sent to the participant immediately as soon as they complete the program. We ask in our YouImpact registration if this individual has an assigned probation officer. If the person puts their probation officer's email address in the section that we ask for it, our system will send a notification to that probation officer the moment their client completes the program. We do this as a way to try and cut down on probation officer workload. We will also email a supervisor of the probation department's choice a monthly report listing everyone from your department who completed the program that month. So your officers and staff always have a record of who has fulfilled their victim impact panel requirement. Our program does not cost anything for the probation department or courts. We're an online program, so we are just a resource for probation departments and superior courts and judges for people who need to attend a victim impact panel. There's never a contract or cost involved on your end whatsoever. Participants just register for the program on the website.
Trina, could I ask a question about that?
Yes.
So the cost then for those, there's those that can't afford it, it's covered. For all those, the individual then when they register, they're paying for.
Yes, so I'll
Okay.
talk about the cost. So if it's a person who is paying for the program, the cost of YouImpact is $65. And that is paid for when they register for the program. So they would log in and register, county of offense, their address, name, probation officer's email address if they have that. And then they would pay for the program on their end. But if it's an indigent client, you can ask for a code.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So our program is a professionally developed victim impact panel, meaning all the speakers are people who have agreed to share their stories. There are people that Anna met sharing her story at live panels, but the curriculum was developed professionally. So as people are sharing their stories, there are really 3 recurring themes throughout our victim impact panel that the individual may not realize taking the program, but those themes are acceptance and responsibility, living with consequences, and then paying it forward. As we said, YouImpact was created by Anna Redgate of the encouragement of a probation department for the need of consistent and effective programming. Our program does take someone 3 to 4 hours to complete. I'd like to speak about when someone registers for YouImpact, even though it is going to take that individual 3 to 4 hours to work through the entire victim impact panel, they are going to have 5 days to complete the 3 to 4 hour program. And we're available in English, Spanish, and Somali. After each of the stories, how the program works is someone will listen to a story. After that story, there's going to be an open-ended question, and then there's going to be very mindful questions that require 100% passing grade before they can go on to the next story. Our program was filmed with a pure white background to remove all the distractions. The questions in our victim impact panel are very mindful. So people have to pay attention to what that individual has shared with them to get those questions correct. If someone has a hard time answering the questions, we do provide 24/7 live support, as I said. And we are very supportive of probation. There's no cost to our program. We attend conferences on a regular basis and travel around the country. We were actually in California last year at the RISE conference. So we were in Anaheim, and we just try to really be supportive of probation. We will always provide you with the indigent program code. Officers can contact our office anytime, and we're available to help people if they do need verification that someone has completed the program. At the end of our victim impact panel, people have the ability to pay forward another program of no cost. So if there is someone who has taken the program who's like, my goodness, you know what? I have a teenage driver in the house. They could really benefit from, you know, this message. Our goal is to save lives. So what they can do is input that person's email address, and our system will email whoever they put in the section, like to learn or to hear YouImpact's message. Our system will email them a 1 hour, no cost pledge program. It does share part of our victim impact panel. There's no cost associated with it. It shares a consistent message that impaired driving is a preventable crime. And at the end of that pledge program, there is a pledge where the person pledges to make responsible choices for themselves and the community. And there's a series of pledges that someone makes. This program is of no cost. It does not fulfill a victim impact panel requirement, but we gift this program to schools and juvenile departments if there is anyone who wants to utilize a proactive approach program, because a victim impact panel is a reactive approach. The program, our Pay It Forward program that is of no cost, is a proactive program. It's a pledge. And this is a program for people to take before there's been an impaired driving offense. But if there's a juvenile department that wants to utilize that program, we'd be happy to share the link. At the end of our victim impact panel, we also ask a series of questions. It's so important to us that our victim impact panel is effective. Anna has spoken at, as I said, live panels for years and saw effective speakers, saw effective panels, and then she also saw ones that maybe fell short, and it really affected her. So she, when developing this program, she wanted to ensure YouImpact was the most effective program that she could create. So at the end of our victim impact panel, there are a series of questions that participants will be asked on their thoughts of the effectiveness of the program. What we do is we actually provide stakeholder feedback on an annual basis. So we take all the answers to these survey questions, and this is an example of one of the questions that is asked at the end of the program. And we take all those answers county specific, and we put the answers into chart and graph format and create a book that we gift and mail to our probation departments that utilize YouImpact, and our judges as well, that shares county specific data. So you will get annually feedback from the participants or your clients on their thoughts of how effective YouImpact was. And in these books, we also share some testimonials that people have left and some of the self-reflective letters. And this is just a way that the probation department can see what their clients' thoughts were about the effectiveness of the program, and also sometimes see some of the good that can come out of a program. Sometimes probation officers don't always get to see the good that their clients, their thoughts and their feelings and how this program has touched them. So we like to share that. And this is another one of the questions that participants are asked if they believed it was effective at relaying the effects of destructive driving decisions. And these statistics that we're showing on the screen right now were taken nationally. And that's just another example of a question that is asked at the end of the program. As I said, the effectiveness of our program is of utmost importance to us. We have conducted 2 recidivism studies. We're due to conduct another. These studies take quite a while. The studies that are on the screen both took 4 years. So these were done in 2018. At that point in time, the recidivism rate nationally for impaired driving was 25%. And we had an independent person from the University of Oklahoma conduct these studies. And there was a study done in Miami-Dade County, which is a very large county in the state of Florida. And with the recidivism rate being 25%, YouImpact graduates' recidivism rate was 3.9%. And Duval County, that's Jacksonville, another large city in the state of Florida, Florida, the recidivism rate was 2.9%. As I said, we're looking to do a new study, but we need a many year sample of people. Yeah. Yeah. So people don't have to leave testimonials. I thought it was important to kind of show what people's thoughts were on the victim impact panel. As I said, I'm sure every officer is aware of a victim impact panel, but you may not be aware of what that victim impact panel entails of and how people really truly think about it unless they speak to you about that. So I just took some testimonials that kind of spoke to me from our system and just wanted to share them with you. What I thought was important about these testimonials is that the person from Texas had said that she had participated in other victim impact panels and how YouImpact just touched her heart and soul so much more. Because our program is just such an emotionally charged program that really speaks with people. And I thought from Georgia, it was important. I think part of the reason and the success of YouImpact at reducing impaired driving recidivism is because it doesn't just share victim stories. It also shares people's peer stories. It shares stories of people who are just in the same situation as them, or even worse, that it's very relatable. So I just wanted to put this on the screen. So how do you get started with YouImpact? As I said, we're just a resource. So literally today, if you had someone who needed to attend a victim impact panel, you could refer them to go to the YouImpact website. When someone registers for the program, we know what county, state they're from, if they have an assigned probation officer, case number, judge. So we have all that information, so we know where to send reports to. It's just as I said, we're just a resource. So the individual who is taking the program can take it on their phone, computer, or tablet, but they just log into our website. The courts and probation departments that utilize YouImpact, we always ask, do you want a distributable resource for your clients so they know where to find the program? So if your probation department says, or the superior court says, yes, I do, please mail us some of your cards, we would send these. And one side is English and one side is Spanish, and it just directs people to our website. There's a QR code that people can scan so they know where to take the program. And this is our contact information. Both Denise and I are available, and we speak with courts and probation departments on a regular basis, just speaking about our purpose and program. We provide indigent program codes. So if you ever need to get in touch with us, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to be a support in any way we can.
Great, thank you so much. And so if folks have questions, do feel free to drop those in the chat, or you can use the raise your hand feature. And while we're waiting for folks, I have a couple of questions myself. You had a slide there that had the study on recidivism that you did, and I was just curious what the measurement was for recidivism. Was that measured after their probation term was done and if they reoffended, or was it during the period of their probation term? I was just curious if you knew how that was measured by the researcher.
It was taken, I think we tracked people for a 4-year period, so it would have been after probation as well. And we do have the long form recidivism study on hand if anyone ever wanted that mailed to them. We have that available.
And then I was curious, you mentioned, I believe it was English, Spanish, and Somali were the 3 languages, which is great. I was just curious if there were any others kind of in the pipeline getting created in other languages, and if you would be able to share, because I'm sure people would be.
I'm gonna say yes to that. We've been asked, and it's in consideration for Creole, Karen, and there was another one, and I think it was and I'm sorry, I don't remember the other one. And that is definitely into consideration and a possibility. How the Somali program came to be is we work in the state of Minnesota, who has the largest Somali population across the country. And the two larger counties that we provide programs for there were in need of a program for Somali speaking people. So we did create, that's how our Somali program came to be. So we have been approached with a request for other languages that are in need. And speaking with our president, who that is definitely into consideration. As I said, the Creole has been something that we've been approached a couple times about, and there is another language, and I'm so sorry I don't have that on the top of my head. But there's definitely a possibility that there could be more languages. We are not opposed to that. We want to provide a program for anyone who could benefit.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful, and helpful to know that there's the capacity. Obviously, you need to figure out the how, but that you're open to that. So appreciate you sharing.
You have one particular population that that you're thinking, or?
I didn't, but I didn't know if others might, so I just figured I'd ask the question. So
all that would require is just a communication with individuals. So
okay, great. Again, if others have questions, feel free to raise your hand, or if there were smaller group, so we're on one, so we could unmute too. You don't necessarily have to be as formal, or you can put them in the chat as well. And we will be, again, for anyone who did join late, we will be sending out the PowerPoint as well as a link to the video. And then this webinar will also get posted to our website too, so folks can be able to view later if you want to refer a colleague to this information.
exactly, and that's the one thing that we would ask for the people who are here today, just that if you know of courts perhaps that would benefit from using our program, just word of mouth is in a larger state like California, word of mouth is one of the biggest ways for us to get access to our program. So we would appreciate people talking about YouImpact.
Yeah. And on your website, you mentioned the Pay It Forward program, because I could see individuals wanting to, obviously for the impact panel, wanting to partner with that component of it. But what I was not expecting, and so that was really great to hear, is just the Pay It Forward. So that's a different kind of a second segment and resource available to folks, where I could see from a prevention point some folks wanting to do that, especially when there's, observing some at-risk behavior. So I think that was really helpful to hear that information. So.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of people, for newer drivers, think that the program is beneficial because it does, although it doesn't go into a lot of the stories, it still has a couple to make it that people understand the ripple effect of what they do.
Yeah. Oh, and then there is a question in the chat. Someone is asking, if we want to look at using this for juveniles, is there a mechanism for the probation department to pay for the service? So to contract with you so that the young youth wouldn't have to pay, regardless if they were indigent or not, but where probation could just fund the clients that were referred.
Yes, of course. So we work in for treatment courts as well, and there's a treatment court I'm thinking of that we work with that, absolutely. However that works, we do have MOUs with certain other counties who have requested that, and there's always absolutely. My answer to that is yes. And however it is best worked out for the probation department, we can really accommodate anything, whether it being a certain amount of programs paid for, and we provide a code. So you just use a code if someone wants to take the program. There's all different avenues and different ways that we do that across the country. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. And thank you for that question, Erin. Any other questions that anyone has?
A follow-up question to that. So aside, sure. Because I'm contemplating, we get I'm sure most probation departments do, we kind of get our flood of DUIs and then it goes away for a little while and then we get another cohort of them basically. And so we typically require a community service to go along with that. And I'm thinking the secondary Pay It Forward could maybe count towards some community service if that was something they chose to do. Would there be any way to track the number of hours that they do with that program? with that
we missed the
portion of the
last.
program. Hold on, let me tell my daughter to stop barking.
Your daughter should not be barking.
No, my daughter won't stop barking. It's ridiculous. She's like looking at the dog barking. So I'm thinking, like, if, you know, rather than, we have a really hard time finding community service locations for juveniles, and it could be particularly meaningful if they chose, I wouldn't want to force a kid into it, but if they chose to continue to this kind of this, what I see is like a second phase of the pay it forward phase, is there any way to track like the level of participation down to kind of a number, some calculation of a number of hours of participation so that we could maybe count it toward community service?
So no, Kevin, so when anyone registers for YouImpact or the Pay It Forward program, so even if we go in our system, I can see if someone, like percentage wise, how much of the program they've taken. So if someone's taken like 86% of the program, you know, we can track it that way. And the Pay It Forward program, we can tell if people have taken that program. It's a 1 hour program and that includes answering the questions. So you want to know if we can track that, if people actually completed that program. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that pretty
Erin?
much answered the question, because that would be kind of an
so
extra.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
I just didn't know
yes.
how many hours it
yeah.
was. I'm not sure one is that helpful, but it's just something else.
Yeah, no, our full program will definitely take, it doesn't matter who, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours to complete. It just, the logistics of it does take that long. Our Pay It Forward program takes about an hour to complete. But in our system, we can see how much people have progressed through the program at any point, and so we have all that information.
Okay. So the Pay It Forward individuals, even though there's not a cost to that one, they still register for it. So there is a way to verify that they viewed. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any other?
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I forgot to mention this. Our program is available to probation departments. If there's anyone who wants to view the program or the Pay It Forward program, just let us know. We open our program to judges and probation officers. Whoever wants to view the program, I'd be happy to send an account for you to view the program. I can make it. The Pay It Forward program you can do at your leisure. Our victim impact panel, I do have to set an expiration date. Our clients who take the program have 5 days to complete the program. If I send an account to an officer, I usually give about a month, but you can send me an email saying, you know, that I need longer than that. So I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that, because I forgot. That was one of my questions, how you arrived at the 5 days. And if someone for whatever reason was like, oh, I forgot, I didn't get to it and I need another day, that it's possible to get that extension. So.
Oh yeah. And for an officer, I usually give them a month. And if they need more than that, I just say, I'll put that in my email. Just send me an email if you need more than that. You can take it at your convenience, because it is a lengthy program. Yeah.
And then a couple other things in the chat, just wanted to call your attention to. Chief Allred shared that one of his probation officers has viewed the program and found it to be very helpful. So wanted to let you know that. And then Erin had a question, just a reminder of the cost for those that on the adult side probably is what she's thinking of. It was $65. Is that what you said for the program?
Yeah. Yep. It's $65. $65 for someone to take the victim impact panel, and the Pay It Forward program, as I said, is of no cost. That's just a pledge program. It's our proactive approach to impaired driving, and just as a way to try and prevent first-time offenses.
Okay. And that's great. And then again, just a reminder for everyone, it is possible to set it up to where the probation department covers the costs of the program, whether that's on, I would imagine, on the juvenile or adult side. So.
And that's absolutely possible. We do all different things depending, treatment court, probation department across the country. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. And then it sounds like,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I've spoken with Chief Allred before. I just was saying hello. Yeah.
Oh, great. And then it sounds like you also are open to talk with partners locally too. If anyone wanted to get more information to any of their local partners, that you're open to doing that as well. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I definitely don't want to stop the flow of questions. If there are any others that have come to mind while we've been talking. If not, then Trina and Denise, I just want to thank you for your time this afternoon. I know I learned a lot more about impact panels and just really enjoyed all the information that you shared this afternoon. And I would not be surprised if you have some outreach after this. So, and then again, just a reminder to everyone that we will also share out this information to everyone in the next day so that you will have that at your resources. As a resource.
Thank you so much. We were grateful for the opportunity to speak to you about the program. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you both.
Erin, I hope your daughter stops barking.
All right, thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.